Well, for the next 30 minutes, Ray McGovern is our guest. We're going to talk about Egypt. We're going to talk about the big news out of the Times of India and other publications. Bush fears arrest, scraps Swiss visit. It's funny, we were talking about this last night before I saw this news article this morning because I ran into Karl Rove at a restaurant. And we were talking about when are they going to arrest this guy for war crimes? How can Bush brag that he ordered torture? He said it again in two speeches last year. But then send people in the military to prison who were caught torturing. And we know that they've talked in Spain about indicting Cheney. You know, will Bush end up being locked up in the U.S. kind of like people like Ceausescu or in Romania? We're going to talk about all of that, or Pinochet of Chile. We're going to talk about all of that with Ray McGovern today. Ray, great to have you on with us.
Thanks, Alex.
Oh, and I probably should introduce you. You're a former military man. From the Vietnam era, and then, of course, you were the top presidential briefer to Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, and you've been a big critic of the lies about WMDs and famously confronted Rumsfeld. He tried to lie and say that he hadn't said that, and you certainly skewered him there, and you've done so much more. But thank you for coming on with us. Let's briefly get into the situation in Egypt.
Well, Alex, there's an elephant in that living room, and the name of the elephant is Israel. And surprise, surprise, no one in this country is talking about it. This is an incredible blow, not only to the United States, but to Israel. They had depended on having a very safe frontier with Egypt since the accord where Egypt recognized Israel. And that's a long time ago. And they had taken it for granted. And all of a sudden, whoa, their strategic calculations are upset by this popular revolt in Egypt. So the real question is, what will the Israelis do? Now, people say, well, they can't do anything. They'll sit back and watch what happens. Right. That's not the way they operate. Number one, they'll operate through their, how shall I say, their supporters here in the United States. And this is one main reason why Hillary Clinton and our president have been waffling for the last week or 10 days, not knowing whether to say, Mubarak needs to get out, or, maybe you can deal with this vice president who's a well-known torturer. It's really been painful watching the to's and fro's, and the unspoken, the factor that can never be spoken on mainline TV is what this means to the Israelis and how Israeli supporters in this country are putting the screws on Barack Obama again to make sure that he doesn't do anything that will make that part of the world still riskier for Israel.
And now the L.A. Times reports a bunch of U.S. ships are steaming into the area. And on top of that, we're getting reports that Marines are being deployed into Egypt. They claim for evacuations. Do you buy that?
No, I don't buy that. I think the Marines want to be prepared to follow orders, as they always do. I don't think that U.S. personages are in any danger. There may be a backup at the airport, but none of the protesters have said they're going to do any harm to U.S. officials or tourists who remain there. So this is a pretty ominous thing. I hadn't gotten confirmation about these Marine moves, but that's what Marines do. And if Mubarak decides to make a last stand, he'll be supported not only by Marines from our country, but by all manner of support from Israel, which knows how to do this, by the way, and are only a stone's throw away.
Well, we've had the British go into Suez in the past, and it is the Business Insider reporting on the Marine situation. But if they admit they're sending ships, would Marines go along with that? And that's who comes off the ships.
Yeah, it depends on what kinds of ships, of course. They can always justify the ships by ostensible danger to the Suez Canal. We'll have to see how that plays out, because I don't think the administration here knows what it's doing.
Ray, stay there. Let's finish up with Egypt, then get into Bush arrest fears.